Greetings, my scattered sisters and brothers in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that His presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. We're picking it up in Mark chapter 5. We've just been with Jairus. Jairus has a daughter who is dying, and Jairus is a synagogue leader. And so he goes to Jesus and he bows before Jesus, and he begs Jesus to come and to touch his daughter that she might live. We see his posture, we see his faith, and best of all, we learn that Jesus went with him, that Jesus is responding to his need and to his faith. And that's where we pick it up today, Mark chapter 5, beginning at verse 24. So Jesus went with him. A large crowd followed and pressed around him, and a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately, her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. Now, I just want to pause here for a moment. The woman, serious illness, bleeding for 12 years. And she'd spent everything she had on doctors, and instead of getting better, she's gotten worse. Now, this isn't saying that we shouldn't go to doctors. This isn't saying that God doesn't work through doctors. Oftentimes, God works through doctors and God works through medicine. But in this particular case, the doctors were no match for the illness. And she was in a dire place, rather hopeless. But she had heard about Jesus. And she just thought, if I could just touch his garments, I would be healed. And the big message is that Jesus is our healer, that Jesus is the cure of all that ails us, of all of our afflictions. And medicine only goes so far. Doctors can only do so much. We can spend everything we have on human efforts, human cures, and still no match for what we really need. Jesus is the cure. Jesus is our healer. That's the big message here. But let's go a little bit further. So she touched Jesus' garments, and she realized that she had been healed, and we pick it up at verse 30. At once Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" "You see the people crowding against you," his disciples answered, "and yet you can ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, and trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. Jesus said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." And so Jesus knew that something had happened, that power had gone out, that somebody had been healed. And so he's looking for who was it? The disciples, they're clueless. But the woman knew that she had been healed, and she knew she needed to confess. And so now we see her in the same posture as Jairus, where she is bowing before Jesus, and she's telling Jesus everything that she did and why. And Jesus' words to her, that's what I want us to really focus on. Daughter, your faith has saved you. Your faith has made you well. Be free from your affliction, from your disease. First he calls her daughter. Now, I'm assuming if she's been bleeding for 12 years and that she spent all she had on doctors, that she's probably at least the same age as Jesus, if not older. But he compassionately refers to her as daughter. And then, your faith has saved you. I want us to be real clear here that it's not simply because she believed, it's because she believed in Jesus. See, she had already had faith in the doctors, and so much faith in the doctors that she spent all she had, and the doctors couldn't cure her. And she realized that wasn't the place to keep putting her faith. There was no answer there. There was no hope there. And sometimes I hear people talk about, well, you just have to believe. And almost like you got to believe in yourself, you got to believe in believing. But no, it's not about simply believing in believing. It's not about believing in yourself, like I just got to believe that I'm going to get better. No, she wasn't going to get better. Her faith was in Jesus. And when she placed her faith in Jesus and reached out and touched his garments, that's when she was made well. And so your faith has saved you. And that's really quite liberating to know that it's really not about how much faith I have. It's not about believing in my faith. It's not about believing in myself. It's not about believing in all these other. It's about believing in Jesus. And all we need to do is put our faith, whether we have a lot, whether we have a little, but place our faith in Jesus. And Jesus is the one who saves, who cures, who makes a way. And so wherever you find yourself scattered today, just remember that it's not about believing in yourself, and it's not about believing in believing, and it's not about believing in other stuff. It's about placing our faith, believing in Jesus. That's the faith that saves. That's the faith that gives us peace. That's the faith that ultimately makes us well. Well, God bless. Have a great day. Have a great faithing day in Christ. He's our healer. He's the one who saves us and makes us well. God bless.